Yeah. I don't know why I did that to myself. That's a hard thing to follow. And, wow. Isn't that awesome? The energy in that space, those words and the music. And I listened to that like 20 times yesterday. It just, and then I worked at tying it together with this lesson in this new series that we're starting today on the 7 spiritual laws of success by following the book by Deepak Chopra. And the first law is the law of pure potentiality. And this law is about the truth of who we are, the truth of who we are that is whole and perfect and loving and kind and generous, and all those qualities, all those fruits of the Spirit that we talk about, that the Bible talks about, and that we talk about in unity, the things that we want to be. I'm wondering why I'm still not grounded yet from that music. I'm on another phase. I pulled up last week's lesson. You already heard that. Although there's a story of a preacher, a new preacher who came into a ministry, and he gave a wonderful sermon, and the congregation was so excited about their new minister, and came back next week and he gave the same sermon. And there were a couple people that were paying attention. They said, "Didn't you give that sermon last week?" And came back the next week and he gave the same sermon. And more people were like, 3 weeks in a row you've given the same sermon. And he said, "Well, are you going to do something differently?" And he said, "Well, as soon as you start doing things differently." Yeah, so how often do we do the same thing over and over and over again? Kill the lights. Let's kill 2 birds with 1 stone, right? We get stuck in a way of being, and there's so much potential that we have to be different, to be who we want to be. And why we are here in this room this morning is to transform, is to change, is to become more of who we are here to be the expression of the Christ. Eric Butterworth says, Christ is the God in you. It's the God part of you. It is all of you. As Paul said, Christ in you, your hope of glory, right? That's, when we get into touching the divine essence of who we are and bring that out into our lives, that's what it's all about. That's when we feel that energy, And the only difference of what I discovered in this music and in the lyrics and how we would say it in teaching, Father, open our eyes. Father, make it right. The difference is God already made it right. We're the ones who have to make it right. We have been created in the image and likeness of God, the image of light, the likeness of love. It's already here. It's everything that you are. But we got to make it right? We have to align ourselves with that truth. And then we can do anything and everything that Jesus did, and even greater things than he did. He taught us that we would do the things that he did and even greater, because that same potentiality that Jesus was when he was on the planet is within you and me. And that was his message. And it doesn't matter if it's Christ in you, your hope of glory, or the Buddha nature, your hope of glory, or your divine essence, your hope of glory. Those are the things that sometimes make it less accessible to us or make people different, right? But the truth is, it's your divine essence. It's who you are. It doesn't matter what church you sit in or what religion you practice. The truth is that you come from God, and we all do, from the one creator. We're all part of this one creation. And so the difference is we got to make it right. And if it works for you to pray to God out there to help you make it right, so be it. You know, I'm learning in my maturity that all these different religions, they all really want the same thing, you know. And we find a community that works for us. You know, those of us here, we love unity, and we love the way that we talk about God. But it's sometimes these religions, which means to bring together, can separate us more than bring us together, right? Look at the history of our world and all the wars that are mostly based on religion than anything else. Now it seems to be more about money, but that's a whole other thing. Our first principle in unity is that there is only one power and one presence, God the good omnipotent, that is active in our lives and in the world. And the second is that essence of God, that spark of divinity, is within each and every one of us. And that is the pure potentiality of our lives, that spark of divinity. I found out in ministerial school that all ministers only have one thing that they teach, and we find a million different ways to teach it. And, you know, when we're in school, we say, okay, what's your principle? What's one of the 12 powers that you align with? Well, my principle is the spark of divinity. That's what I teach about. You'll hear it every Sunday. Now that I've said it, you'll hear it every Sunday. It's like thinking about that new VW that you want to buy, and that's all you see on the road, right? But I believe it so much because that's what unity taught me, you know, that I'm worthy, that there's this divine essence within me, and I'm worthy of all of God's blessings, and it's God's good pleasure to give me the kingdom, right? So I'm worthy of it, and I live into that, and I struggle sometimes so much with that, and yet I try to live into it every day in some way. Many of you know I'm a Kundalini yoga teacher, and something about Kundalini and that tradition drew me into how I wanted to be trained as a yoga teacher. And what I found out during my training is one of the definitions of Kundalini is your innate potential. Things just line up. You pay attention and things line up. So this is my thing in life. I want to express the divine that I am. I got trained in a yoga teacher training that tells me and shows me how to awaken that divine potential. So we do it here through affirmative prayer, right? And affirmations. We align ourselves with truth, and that helps. So that's the mind piece. And now I'm doing the body piece with Kundalini of using my body to wake up this innate potential. The teaching is that it's right here at the base of the spine. All the energy of God is right here at the base of my spine. Every practice I do, every mudra, every mantra, every asana, every breath work, every eye gaze, all is designed to help wake up that energy so I can use it. So it doesn't just sit down there, but it comes all the way up here. It comes out my eyes. And everyone who practices it, that's kind of the idea. So we have this innate potential within us. And if you're not feeling it, if you're feeling run down, if you're feeling uninspired, if you're feeling lack and all these things, the idea is that we can change it because it's all within us. We came in with it. We were made right. God doesn't have to make it right. It was already made right. So it's our work to wake it up, whether you do it through prayer and meditation. So actually, with this first teaching, there are 3 things to practice to wake up the pure potential within you. First is to meditate. And most of us in this room know how to meditate. But to meditate twice a day for 30 minutes. Oh, well, come on. 10 minutes in the morning is enough, isn't it? How much of your potential do you want to access? So When I was in seminary, about 3 months before I was ordained, I had been working with a Native American medicine man outside of, wasn't part of the school curriculum, and did a bunch of sweat lodges with him, then went out on Vision Quest, and I sat on the land for 3 days. I won't tell the whole story. But as I sat there without food, with a gallon of water, in nature, I got happier and happier. That was my experience. Every day I just started to feel better and better. And maybe it was because the toxins were leaving my body from the food that I eat and the water that I drink and the air that I breathe. Or maybe it was just that I was getting out of myself and going within and connecting with that divine essence. So that's why it's important. I invite you to, challenge yourself with your meditation practice. And if 30 minutes twice a day seems like too much, maybe you start with 10 minutes twice a day and move it up to 15 and eventually getting to 30 minutes twice a day. So that's the first step in accessing your pure potential. The second step is kind of similar, which is just to sit in nature and observe nature, observe the universe, see what's going on in the world, and notice the divine flow of things. Notice how a bird flies across the sky and nobody's telling it how to flap its wings. Notice the flowers that are blooming or the trees that are swaying or whatever it is, and just take some time to contemplate. We live in paradise here. Go to the beach, sit and observe the ocean and the rhythm of the waves, and just feel the presence of God deeper and deeper and deeper. And the third step in becoming and tapping into your pure potentiality is to be non-judgmental. Practice being non-judgmental. I don't know how it is for you, but I know when I'm judging things, I have no room for God. Because it's usually a negative judgment, about how somebody's being and how they're doing is affecting me or the world or whatever. Just think about how much time we spend in judgment. And that's why it's important, Christ's teachings, to be non-judgmental, right? You'll be judged to the level that you judge. Another one of those ones I don't like. So meditate, sit and reflect more, and be non-judgmental. And doing these three things. And that's the biggest thing I worked on with that piece of music. Because what I would do to be in that circle with a microphone and singing with those folks, that's heaven on earth to me. And I had to let go of my judgment of the language, of the form, of the fact that I'm twice as old as all those people. And it's like, just let that go. And the more I can let that go, the more the presence of God wakes up in me, and that potentiality, I tap into it. So how do we do it in addition to these three things that Deepak Chopra talks about? Is the parable that Jesus taught us about, the parable of the sower. The same day Jesus went out of the house and sat by the lake, such large crowds gathered around him that he got into a boat and sat in it, while all the people stood on the shore. Then he told them many things in parables, saying, a farmer went out to sow his seed. As he was scattering the seed, some seed fell on the path, and the birds came and ate it up. Some fell on rocky places where it did not have much soil. It sprang up quickly because the soil was shallow. But when the sun came out, the plants were scorched and they withered because they had no roots. Other seed fell among thorns, which grew up and choked the plants. Still, other seeds fell on good soil, where it produced a crop, 160 or 30 times what was sown. Whoever has ears, let them hear. So what does it mean this potential, the seed that Jesus is talking about is our thoughts. Our thoughts are the seeds that tap into this potential, that are the potential. Think of an acorn and an oak tree, that potential that's in the acorn. It's the same power with our thoughts. And as our thoughts are the seeds to expression in our lives, and when the good soil is the soil that is connected to your divine essence. It's that soil that's free of judgment, that soil that's deeply grounded in the truth of who you are and what you know as a child of God. And the more we plant those seeds in that good soil, the more we manifest the lives that we want to live and the world that we want to live in. Because we limit ourselves, right? I limit myself. I'll own that. You know, I limit myself by my past experience and what I think I'm capable at this time. And yet, I know I've had amazing transformation in my life, and I've had my lives, maybe my lives. And I know that it's possible when I plant good seeds and I water them. And sometimes I do it like this, though. I would like to buy $3 worth of God, please. Not enough to explode my soul or disturb my sleep, but just enough of him to equal a cup of warm milk or a snooze in the sunshine. I don't want enough of him to make me love a black man or pick beets with a migrant. I want ecstasy, not transformation. I want the warmth of the womb, not a new birth. I want a pound of the eternal in a paper sack, please. I'd like to buy $3 worth of God. And how often do we do that? When there's so much more. The kingdom of God, the realm of divine ideas. And then we have this saying that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And somehow when we say that, it's like our human experience isn't sacred. But your humanity is sacred. You are here, an expression of the divine. So my spiritual goal is to be the best human being I can be. I can't be more spiritual. However, I can bring that spirituality into my humanity. And that's our work, right? And it's not an either or thing. We have to find a way to blend those two things, our spirituality and our humanity. Because these earth suits are what carry our consciousness and our soul around. So we have to take care of them and honor them too as sacred. And as we do that, we find we have this experience. I like to think this life experience on this planet is paradise. I don't remember what was before, and I don't know what's after. But I know that this is the eternal moment. This is eternity right here, right now, and it's beautiful, isn't it? Think about the loved ones in your lives, your friends, your families, your creative expressions, the music we get to hear, the beauty we get to see. This is all part of God's creation. And if we're judging it, we're missing it, right? So we have to pull back, and we got to buy $1 trillion worth of God. It's got to be big. It's got to be so big that it can't happen without God, right? I want to close with this lovely poem by Ella Wheeler Wilcox. Whoever was begotten by pure love and came desired and welcome into life is an immaculate conception. He whose heart is full of tenderness and truth, who loves humankind more than he loves himself, and cannot find room in his heart for hate, may be another Christ. We all may be saviors of the world if we believe in the divinity which dwells in us and worship it, and nail our grosser selves, our tempers, greeds, and our unworthy aims upon the cross. Who, given love to all, pays kindness for unkindness smiles for frowns, and leads new courage to each fainting heart, and strengthens hope and scatters joy abroad. He, too, is a redeemer, a son or daughter of God. That's our potential, to be the expressions of God, to pull back from the judgment and remember the truth that if you knew who walked beside you, you'd never have any fear. You'd never experience lack or illness. So let's do our best to remember the spark of divinity that created us, that we are, that is longing to express in and through and as us. Let's take a moment to know this inwardly. And as we breathe into this moment, we breathe the pure potential of God. In every breath, all that is necessary for this life is here now, inspiring us, healing us, prospering us, blessing us. So thank you, loving Father, Mother God. We thank you for the indwelling Christ, for the Buddha nature, for the Atman, for the soul, for the divine essence that we are. Thank you for this opportunity to live it. And bless us and support us and as we make it right. And so it is. Amen.